You know, the last time I was in this ring, I was talking about how I thought my luck had ran out. I went home. For the last 2 months, I've been spending time with my family. I've been spending time out on my farm, a place that I built with my blood, sweat, and tears, just like I did my wrestling career. And I said if wrestling was still in my blood, that my home would tell me. And a couple of weeks ago, me and my daughter was out riding horses, and she said, "Daddy, are you going to go back to wrestling?" Now it wasn't the question she asked me, but what she meant by it. You see, I know what professional wrestling means to me. What I didn't know is what it meant to my little girl. And last Sunday at Slammiversary, and hell, even the night coming down the ramp, standing in this ring in front of all you people, the people watching at home, I didn't know what I meant to all you guys, so thank you very much. Now I made a promise to myself and to my little girl, and now I'm going to make a promise to each and every one of you. I came back to be the World Heavyweight Champion. And if I didn't, make myself clear, the Cowboy, James Storm, is back. And by God, Bobby Roode, I want you to listen, because I hope and I pray, oh God, do I pray that you will be the world champion after this Bound for Glory series is over with, because that's just going to be a bonus of whooping your ass. Sorry about if you smell what the Rock is cooking.
WBCB presents Pro Wrestling Weekly.
Tell me he didn't just say that.
Call in with a question or comment at 215-949-3232 or 888-922-2149.
The Tower of Power, too sweet to be sour, funky like a monkey, holy yeah.
And now, here's your host of Pro Wrestling Weekly, Fearon Derry.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
Really? Yeah!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you for an abbreviated edition. We'll be off the air at 12:30 due to Phillies Blue Jays baseball. A ton of stuff to get into, as you heard there. After a seemingly short absence, maybe about 6 or 8 weeks, Cowboy James Storm back in the house. Of course, he made his appearance, or I should say return, initially at Slammiversary, answering Crimson's open challenge and beating him in the span of a little over 2 minutes, really. So, didn't exactly get that one right, but looking quickly at the rest of the Slammiversary results, Austin Aries, it ended up being an X Division Championship match against Samoa Joe. Aries beat Joe to retain the title and keep his momentum going. Hernandez beating Kid Cash, got that one right too. Devon and Garrett Bischoff beating the Robbies, Robbie E and Robbie T, in a little under 6 minutes. Mr. Anderson, the new number one contender, beating Rob Van Dam and Jeff Hardy in their triple threat match. Of course, Miss Tessmacher beating Gail Kim to become the TNA Knockouts champion. Joseph Park beating Bully Ray in that Anything Goes match. And there was a brief appearance by Abyss as well. Little Bella Twins switcheroo action there. AJ Styles and Kurt Angle, they beat Christopher Daniels and Kazarian to win the TNA World Tag Team Championship, and Bobby Roode beating Sting to retain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, but not a bad night overall for Sting, as he was announced as the first inductee into the TNA Hall of Fame, and there will be an induction ceremony coming up in October at Bound for Glory. So not bad. 6-3 for my predictions certain to go wrong for the pay-per-view. Puts me at 50-24 for 2012. And speaking of predictions certain to go wrong, I've got them for No Way Out coming up probably on the other side of our one and only timeout coming up in a few minutes here. We'll get to your calls in a minute. Speaking of No Way Out, though, a little bit of a change at the top. WWE announced via their Twitter service that Alberto Del Rio, of course, in case you missed it, will not wrestle at the No Way Out pay-per-view tomorrow as previously advertised. He is out with a concussion suffered at the SmackDown taping last week. Of course, in the upcoming week, I'll have a blog up on Completely Damaged, breaking down the broken down WWE roster, and we'll delve a little bit further into it right here on Pro Wrestling Weekly next week when we're back for the full hour. But needless to say, a lot of guys out either due to injury, suspension, or otherwise, and a pretty. It's gotten to the point where the inactive roster looks better than the active roster, but we'll get into all that next week. Of course, another interesting and notable return to Raw this past Monday. The appearance of Vader, who hasn't been in a WWE ring since the Federation days. You had to go back to like 97, 98 for the last time that Vader was in the house, and he had a rather notable reaction from the crowd, a very positive one. Seeing, basically the same, looking the same, not bad for 57 years old. A little bit more of a gut. I mean, he was always a big guy, so it didn't exactly show with the black trunks, but the crowd went nuts for his moves as they had. It was like it was the early to mid 90s all over again. Anyway, before we take care of our first bit of business, let's go over to the phones. We've got Ed from the Northeast, and we'll get to your Facebook feedback on the other side. We'll go to the Facebook page, WBCB Pro Wrestling Weekly, because there's been a lot of different topics going on, including what I threw out there last week. Of course, the Linda McMahon political news update, Quinnipiac University releasing that poll about the Connecticut political races, and they included a question that was a bit of a head-scratcher. Some people in the news media have described the World Wrestling Entertainment product as being pornographic. Do you agree, disagree, or don't you have an opinion? So we'll get your thoughts on that as well. What you feel, whether you feel that WWE, based on this poll, is or is not pornographic. But first, let's go to the phones. We'll get a look at the local scene, courtesy of Ed from the Northeast. Ed, what's going on?
We got a free show in June 30th in Pennsauken. The DWF logo has Rockin' Rebel, Nikolai Volkov, and Ron Starr.
Okay, the DWF over in Pennsauken. I've gone to a couple of their shows. They do some great things.
And CCW has Hamilton, Delaware on next weekend. The Drunken Scaffold match, Panes of Glass match, and 2 ultraviolet ladder matches.
Ooh, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Just mentioning Panes of Glass, I'm already... it gives me the shivers just thinking about it.
Ultraviolet summer coming.
Yeah, it reminds me of that King of Death Matches tournament that Cactus Jack was, of course, famous for winning. But I believe it was Terry Funk and I want to say Tiger Jeet Singh in the semifinals. They had a match involving Panes of Glass, and that's the first thing that I think of when you mention it. So I don't know. I still get the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it.
And we have WWE Raw World Tour in Bethlehem on next Friday, this coming Friday.
Should be interesting. I know that the roster's been a little bit depleted. I believe by that point you may... I don't know. That's pretty close to when Jericho could return. So that might be definitely something to go to see. He may have an unadvertised appearance considering his suspension.
We have a lock in cage match for MMA at the Sportsplex in Peaceville tonight.
Oh, okay. So that pretty much lines up the next couple of weeks right there. Between that tonight, Raw in Bethlehem next Friday, the CZW show next Saturday, and then DWF the following Saturday. It sounds like a few action-packed weekends, to say the least. All right, Ed. Thanks so much.
Oh, yeah. Have a nice weekend.
No problem. Thanks so much for the call, Ed. Appreciate it as always. And one other event of note, even though it's a little bit down the ways, our good friends over at George's Cards and Collectibles, they've got a couple of upcoming autograph and photo op sessions. Going to be a Sunday afternooner, which is something I haven't seen in a little while. Sunday afternoon, August 19th, former WWE stars Matt Hardy and Shelly Martinez. They'll be over at the George's in Oxford Valley. That's right, the Oxford Valley Mall from 1 until 3 p.m. That's Sunday, August 9th. That is SummerSlam Sunday. Matt Hardy and Shelly Martinez at the George's Cards and Collectibles. Not the original, but in the Oxford Valley Mall. For more information, give them a call at 215-943-2475 or visit www.georgescollectibles.com. Got a little more news and notes on the other side, as well as my predictions certain to go wrong for No Way Out. And we'll have time for some Facebook feedback as well as your calls in this abbreviated edition of Pro Wrestling Weekly. Let me give you the numbers. 215-949-3232 or toll free at 888-922-2149. Those are the ways to reach us. You can also log on to Facebook and search WBCB Pro Wrestling Weekly. Like us and join in the conversation here on Pro Wrestling Weekly on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.